Beautiful night in downtown Cincinnati. Cooler temperatures, and the Reds are back on the home front for the first of 6. And it begins with the first of 3. Their first look in this 2013 season at Walt Weiss and the Colorado Rockies. And hi again, everybody. Alongside Chris Welsh, I'm Tom Brenneman. Welcome, as always, to Reds Baseball here on Fox Sports Ohio. Nothing like home sweet home. Reds have played 27 times here this year, winning 20 so far.
It really is amazing how good they are at home. It's great how they pitch at home, and they do pitch well at home. You know, playing here at Great American Ballpark can get teams that are from out of town swinging big and trying to hit home runs and take them out of it. And it also can get into pitchers' heads, but that has not happened to the pitching staff here. They realize that half their stars have to be at Great American Ballpark. They don't let this ballpark psych them out. In fact, it is home sweet home for the Reds.
Of course, that's the good news. The bad news is the man scoring that run right there, Brandon Phillips, is not in the Reds lineup again tonight. As you look at some of the numbers, home and on the road, and obviously a lot of those road numbers were through the first 9 games when the Reds started at 1-8. Well, now they're at 500 on the road. Those numbers are getting much better.
They are getting a little bit better at a time, but they're still getting good pitching, and that's the biggest thing right there. But when you talk about pitching, you've got to have good defense behind you. And, of course, when you're missing Brandon Phillips, the way the Reds are going to, at least for tonight, you're going to miss tremendous defense. You know that already. I mean, he's not the reigning Gold Glove Award winner, but he probably will be after this year. And he'll not play today. He may not play tomorrow. In fact, he was only running today. Did not see him swing the bat. We don't know the extent of that injury. We do know that when he was hit by that pitch, the bone is not broken. So it's simply a bruise. He can't quite have any strength in his hand right now. That means other guys are going to have to step it up. And one guy who's very hot right now is Zach Cozart.
Meanwhile, for the Colorado Rockies, they have always been a team that carries the heavy lumber. And right now, the middle of that lineup is dangerous as any team around.
Well, this is top-heavy as any lineup around. You're talking about 2 guys. Carlos Gonzalez, left-handed hitter. He'll steal a base. He'll drive them in. He can hit to all parts of the ballpark. He's a very dangerous hitter against both left-handed pitching and right-handed pitching. And the guy that comes after him in the lineup is Troy Tulowitzki. I mean, this is not the normal shortstop that you see. This guy is an offensive machine. 43 runs batted in. He's batting nearly 340. He doesn't strike out very much. These 2 guys right here back-to-back will make certain that your pitching staff stays very serious the entire series.
And you don't forget about Michael Kadire either. He's been on the DL and knocked in almost 40. Bronson Arroyo, the man trying to slow him down tonight. We'll talk more about the pitching matchup when we return on Fox Sports Ohio.
retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Cincinnati Reds.
A lot of the youngsters in the ball game tonight on a picture-perfect weather night right now, but what about later on? Let's check in on the weather with John Gum.
All right, I've got to tell you, the weather does not get any better than this for baseball in the springtime in Cincinnati. We're going to be in the upper 60s for the first pitch, partly cloudy, becoming clear, comfortably cool, down to 62. Enjoy the game right here on Fox Sports Ohio.
All righty, thanks very much. Get a look at the starters here tonight. Bronson Arroyo against Tyler Chatwood. First time the Reds have ever seen him.
A couple of right-handers going at it. One a very much a veteran right-hander. The other, Tyler Chatwood, only 23 years old. Bronson Arroyo, although 5-5 on the year, he is 4-1 right here at Great American Ballpark. Chatwood, by the way, he's 3-0, but he started the season down in the minor leagues. He pitches very well on the road. Here's Arroyo's story. A 3.1 earned run average here, a very low batting average against. He doesn't walk very many. And I think the difference for Bronson Arroyo this year has been able to throw that two-seam fastball effectively, and he's throwing more sliders and curveballs, and that's something I think that he keeps adjusting and staying one step ahead of the opposing hitters.
All righty, we're set for baseball. Colorado in town for the first of three. And the first pitch is coming up next. You're watching Reds baseball on Fox Sports Ohio. Series trucks, the best-selling truck in America, 36 straight years. By Cincinnati USA Regional Tourism Network. Book your stay at CincinnatiUSA.com. And by Skyline Chili, feeling good. It's Skyline time. Colorado Rockies, 3 games better than 500. 30 wins against 27 losses. They reside in second place behind Arizona in the National League's Western Division. And their first-year manager, longtime player in the big leagues, Walt Weiss. And his starting lineup reads as follows. Dexter Fowler in center field. Arenado, the third baseman. They just brought him up this year to play third. And, boy, the middle of that order. Gonzalez, Tulowitzki, Kadire, look out. Helton still hanging around at first. A ladder third of Rosario. LeMahieu starting at second base, and Chatwood on the mound. We gave you the numbers a moment ago for Bronson Arroyo.
Yeah, Bronson Arroyo's been good. He's been better really than that 5-5 record, although he's coming off an outing that he wished he would have pitched better at. That was up in Cleveland. Reds lost the ball game 5-2. He gave up all 5 runs in 5 2/3 innings, but he's happy to be back here at home where his record is 4-1 and a very good earned run average.
Let's take a look at the Reds defensively, presented by your Ford dealers. Paul to start in left field tonight. Chu and Bruce join him in the outfield. Frazier Cozart again is Turris for the injured Brandon Phillips. Joey Votto at first, and Ryan Hannigan hanging his signs for Arroyo.
Now, the thing that Arroyo has learned in this ballpark is that walks will absolutely kill you here because you're going to give up some home runs, and his walks this year have been down dramatically.
Dexter Fowler coming off a career game yesterday. He led off the game against the Dodgers with a home run. Breaking ball is outside and we're underway. It's the second time he's done that in the game this year. He hit another home run later on in the game. They appeal and no, he didn't get around.
How about the first 2 pitches of Arroyo? Now, the first one's at 70 miles an hour. The next one is 72. I mean, the high school playoffs are happening right now. You probably won't see a pitcher throwing that slow in one of those playoff games. And a third.
At 72, he's in a rut.
Yeah. That's kind of like you at a 55.
Unfortunately, that's a story these days. Fly ball into left center field, and Chu going a long way to get there, but able to do so, and Fowler retired to begin the game. Nolan Arenado became the fastest Rocky ever to hit his first career grand slam. That was back on May the 4th against Tampa Bay. Made his major league debut at the end of April. They brought him up from the minor leagues, and he is their #1 prospect according to Baseball America. 228 batter in a little over a month of play. 4 home runs and 12 runs batted in. In there, fastball, strike 1. A lot of people through the years, of course, have made note, and certainly the numbers back it up. The Colorado generally year in and year out in the history of the franchise, and by the way, this year is their 20th anniversary. They began playing in 1993. Same year the Florida Marlins came into the National League. That they've always knocked the cover off the ball at home, and they've had a lot of problems on the road. But many who watch the team now feel like this club, this version of their team, is far better equipped to hit on the road than they have been perhaps in past years. And so far, those numbers are not that far off.
You're right about that, because they are ahead of the Reds in the number of runs scored in the National League this year. In fact, the Rockies are 1 and the Reds are number 2.
Cozart. Good throw to Votto. 2 up, 2 down.
So far, you know, it's still early in the ball game, and Arroyo still maybe finding his sea legs out there, but his fastball is only hovering around 85, 86 miles an hour. We've seen Bronson earlier in the year when he rears back and needs one around 90. But he's been so adept at pitching without that fastball for protection that you really don't raise your eyebrows. But it's worth commenting on here early in the ball game.
Now Carlos Gonzalez, 305 batter, 14 home runs, 36 runs batted in. They play the shift on him, and he just lays one down for a bunt hit.
So what do you think about that?
I think it's great. Kind of hitters they have behind him.
Exactly.
Why not give Troy Tulowitzki a chance to get on base?
And Joey Votto has kind of addressed this from time to time. You know, his job is not to make it out, and they're putting the shift on him. They're giving him the entire left side of the infield. All he's got to do is lay the bunt down on the left side, and he walks to first base. And they're talking about it right now. He goes, you know, I thought about doing that.
Well, whether it was Barry Bonds or Ken Griffey Jr. Now, no one's comparing Carlos Gonzalez to those two guys. I mean, you're talking about two of the most prolific home run hitters in the history of baseball. But even when you're having a ridiculous year, say you're hitting 50 home runs, but that's in over 600 plate appearances. So what are the odds of you stepping up there with 2 outs and nobody on in the first inning of a game and swatting one in the seats?
Yeah, if you're a real good home run hitter, your ratio is about what, 1 every 13, 14, 15 times up? And that's a good one.
0-1 the count. You know, you can't have it both ways sometimes. And a lot of us want to have it both ways. You know, you can make arguments based on statistical analysis, but then throw out the percentages of a play like that. Carlos Gonzalez just putting that ball on the ground. If he can put it on the ground, there's a chance he can pop it up. But if he puts it on the ground, his chances are very, very high of doing what he just did based on where the defense is playing.
Well, another part of it, Tom, is I think that they know how they. Arroyo has been around long enough that they know how they feel against against him, and Tulowitzki feels against Arroyo. And Tulowitzki, by the way, has hit Arroyo very well in his career. How about a 5 for 9? That's a batting average of .556. Got him down in the hole though, 0-2.
0-2 pitch.
Oh, he got
it in the middle of the plate.
Yeah, he got away with a hanger right there. And Tulowitzki jammed himself.
Well, you look at some of the years this guy has put together when he's been able to stay healthy. Well, last year he only played in 47 games. His last full season, he knocked in 105 runs. And a tapper to Cozart. He'll go the short way, and that's all. The bunt single by Gonzalez. He's stranded at first. Reds coming up against Tyler Chatwood when we return. Steve Baker's starting lineup here tonight. Shu in center, Cozart at short, Votto at first. Bruce Frazier and Xavier Paul 4, 5, 6. The latter third of Ryan Hannigan, Cesar, Turris, Bronson, Arroyo. Tyler Chatwood, originally a second-round pick back in 2008 by the Angels, came over to Colorado for catcher Chris Iannetta. Had a good start to his major league career going back to last year.
Oh, you're right. He was rushed up to the major leagues when he was with the Angels, maybe before his time. But now that he's 23 years old, he came to spring training, had a chance to make the ball club, pitched okay. But he needed to pitch his way onto the roster, and he did not do that. So he started down in AAA, and he pitched very well down there. And then ever since coming up, he actually has posted better numbers in the major leagues this year than he has in the minor leagues.
Went single A, double A, triple A in the Angels organization in 2010 before they brought him up to the big leagues, and he made 25 starts. That's what Chris was talking about. They really pushed him ahead of schedule, or tried to anyway, and the numbers weren't all that pretty.
Well, they needed pitching up there badly. And he was the best that they could come up with. But they've always liked his stuff. In fact, as you watch him pitch, you're going to think that he may remind you a little bit of Roy Oswalt, where he jumps at the hitter a little bit. He's got a big curve ball with a lot of speed separation between his fastball and his curve.
Young man grew up in Fontana, California. And the 2-1 pitch. Chu fouls it away out of play. Reds beginning play tonight. 35-22, coming off a real tough one to swallow yesterday. They had a 4-0 lead.
Coming right inside on Chu right there, and Chu just a hair late.
This one in the air, and Fowler will track it down in left center field, 1 out. Colorado defensively presented by your Ford dealers. You saw Fowler. He's flanked by Gonzalez and Kadire. Arenado, Tulowitzki, LeMahieu help around the infield. Willie Rosario, they're hoping he'll get better defensively behind the plate because they know he can swing the bat. Those are to 246, 5 home runs and 24 runs batted in. He comes in riding the tide of a season best 7-game hitting streak. 11 hits in his last 29 at bats. And really, you go back even further than that, over the last 10 games, only 1 game did he not have a hit. And during the 10 games, he's been better than a 400 batter. 0-2 to Zach Kozar.
And they got the Reds going yesterday very quickly, and the second batter of the ball game after Shin-Soo Choo was hit by a pitch, Zach Kozar promptly tripled.
Unfortunately for the Reds, of course, they would not score again. 10 innings went by against the Pirate bullpen, and the Reds did not score another run. In fact, the only inning they even remotely threatened to score a run, they loaded the bases with 2 men out in the 8th, and Chu struck out. 1-2 on Kozar. I can tell you that was a very quiet plane ride last night. Looked like Kerwin Danley caught that one. Must have hit, and it came up, got him in the mask or under the throat. Boy, it didn't look like much, but you never know with those balls when they come back up and get you.
Well, the scary part is that it's not the first time it's happened. If you've been umpiring as long as Kerwin Danley has, you've been hit in that face mask over and over and over again. And that's one thing the Major League Baseball is taking a much closer look at. Injuries to catchers and umpires. You see him hobble away, though. It is kind of amazing, and I'm not making light of this at all for Kerwin Danley, but no matter where you get hit, an athlete will always limp. He get hit in the hand and he limps. Here he got hit right in the face mask with evidently a very solid blow, and same thing happened there.
Well, he doesn't look like he's doing very well right now.
Yeah, he's shaking his head. That's got to be scary.
Steve Bauman, the Reds assistant trainer, the one who's over there talking to him.
Yeah, could have got him in a spot right above that bar on the mask and hit more on the fiberglass. You know what? If it happens to you, a player, say you have a collision out in the outfield, you know, maybe a third out, and you can go sit in the dugout and take some time, and you get attended to, and when you're the home plate umpire, I mean, nothing happens until you deem yourself ready to stay in the ball game. Let's hope he's all right.
Well, you can tell he's scuffling. He's going to try to hang in there.
That'd probably be a good time right now for him to give a warning to both benches. Now listen, if I make a mistake here tonight, you got to give me some slack. I don't want to hear it.
Well, after that, he may have done just that without saying a word to anybody. They might give him the benefit of the doubt. Or maybe not.
Well, glad he's all right.
Indeed. Next pitch fouled over the screen and out of play. It's a ball and 2 strikes on Zach Kozart. Tonight, the 5th game as a Rocky here in 2013 for Tyler Chatwood. Second start against the National League Central Division team. Lone start came against Milwaukee, but that was last year. Well, able to smile a little bit, laugh a little bit now is Kerwin Danley. Perhaps that's a good sign. 2-2 pitch and dribbled foul. Pirates already underway. They're in the bottom of the 1st inning, opening a series tonight in Atlanta. And the St. Louis Cardinals will be starting in about an hour from now. They're at home against the Arizona Diamondbacks. That is the first of 4 against the National League Western Division leaders. 2-2 pitch. Struck him out. Our statistician Joe Lucca reminds us, Chris, that Danley was hit in the head by a broken back in 2009 and had to be taken off the field on a stretcher. And much like you hear with football players, you alluded to it earlier, in baseball paying a lot of attention. Concussions, a very, very serious issue. When you're repeatedly, just not every now and again, you're repeatedly taking blows to the head. Ball 1 to Joey Votto. Now, the last road trip we saw, especially the Pirates, but even the Indians for that matter, both teams really put a heavy shift on both Joey Votto and especially Jay Bruce. Colorado, not nearly as dramatic. 2-1. Votto had a very quiet series in Pittsburgh. He had 2 base hits and did not. Well, he knocked in 1 run. There's a check swing by the mound. Tulowitzki charging. And throws out Votto in a 1-2-3 opening frame for Tyler Chatwood. Colorado coming about in a scoreless game. After tomorrow, right here at Great American Ballpark. First 30,000 fans take home the first ever Matt Latos bobblehead thanks to Toyota. 381 Reds, a number to dial for tickets, or log on to Reds.com tonight. Michael Kadire, longtime Minnesota Twin, came to Colorado a season ago. Looks at a strike, and despite the fact that he's been on the disabled list this year, look at the numbers for Kadire. 36 runs batted in. 10 home runs and carries a .346 batting average. This guy's always been a very good player. Former Gold Glove winner at the pitcher's position, Arroyo, handles that hot smash right back up the middle. 1 out. Arroyo pitched once against Colorado last year, and that was in Denver, and you can't pitch any better at mile-high altitude than he did a season ago. Shut him out. Over 6 2/3, allowed 6 hits and no runs. And he was due because the year before, same venue, he lasted 1 inning, gave up 7 hits and 6 runs. And the year before that in Denver, 8 hits and 4 1/3 and 7 earned runs. Hey, some of you may have seen Yadier Molina completely melt down after being called out on a play at first base during that Cardinal loss yesterday to the San Francisco Giants. He wasn't upset about being called out. He knew he was out. If you read some of the comments today, he was upset because when he came out of the batter's box, he wasn't running hard, thinking that ball was going to the outfield. And the shortstop, Brandon Crawford, made an unbelievable diving play to get up and then throw him out. And as he went by the bag in frustration, he slammed his helmet down to the ground. Got thrown out of the game immediately. Did not say a word to the umpire, apparently. As it's 3-2 now on Todd Helton. Mike Matheny was very critical of the way it was handled by the umpire. But today Molina suspended for 1 game and fined an undisclosed amount of money. You can book it. Matheny will be suspended for his comments as well. 3-2 on Helton. Votto has that ball ripped right by him. And that'll be a 1-out single here in the 2nd inning for Todd Helton.
Now the ball hit very hard by Todd Helton. Gets a high pitch right here. Really throws his top hand on that high fastball. Joey Votto, rather than get in front of the ball, decides to try to backhand it. The ball just went higher on that hop than he thought it would.
Seems like almost every ball that's hit like that to his
backhand side.
Yeah, backhand side. He's almost falling down backwards when he goes to make the play. Of course, that ball was smoked right there. But Votto had a rough day yesterday in the field. It was a very odd day for him yesterday. A pair of balls that were thrown by his infielders that he just did not catch. One of them was ruled a base hit, and on the other one, Votto was charged with an error. But it was very, very odd. We get so spoiled watching this Reds defense, including Votto, a former Gold Glove winner down at first base. Young man right here had a pretty impressive rookie season in 2012. Led all National League rookies in home runs, RBIs, and slugging percentage. In fact, his .530 slugging percentage was the highest by a rookie catcher in the major leagues since the great Mike Piazza set the all-time rookie catcher mark back in 1993 with the Dodgers. This young man had 28 home runs. Breaking ball in there, a strike.
It doesn't really look right now like Bronson Arroyo's breaking ball is really biting up there. You see he's hung a couple like that. He gets that one out of it. He gets that one by Willeen Rosario because he thought it was going to be off the plate to hit him. Going to have to stay stubborn with it until it begins to work for him.
Got him on a breaking ball. That's strikeout number 1 tonight for Arroyo.
I always think that's a really good philosophy for a pitcher, that after you throw say a breaking ball and you don't throw it very well and you know that you can improve on it, come right back and try to throw it again and learn something from the previous one. And he throws that one a lot better. A Performance Honda gives us a good slow-mo look at that. Now, on the other hand, when you throw a really good one, what are your chances of making it better on the next pitch? Not very good. That's why then I suggest go to some other pitch or some other location.
It's interesting. First pitch fastball, and there's a strike to DJ LeMahieu, the second baseman. He came over from the Cubs prior to last year in that Ian Stewart deal, and boy, what a disaster that trade has turned into for the Cubs. They were hoping that Stewart would be their regular third baseman for a long time to come. Fly ball into center field, and this will do it in the Colorado's second inning. A hit, a man left. Bruce, Frazier, Paul coming up. No score. Find out how much Pete Rose makes to sign autographs every year and go to Gem Connect to chat live with the Hall of Famer Hal McCoy. It's all brought to you by 1-800-SAFE-AUTO. Drive safe, spend less. A beautiful night at the old ballpark. Sunshine, cool temperatures. I mean to tell you, today you couldn't ask for a more beautiful day, much like they had here, we understand, yesterday. Of course, the Reds got in late, not late at night, but late where most of the day it passed them by after that extra inning loss in Pittsburgh. Jay Bruce once again batting in that cleanup spot. In the absence of Brandon Phillips. And again, for those of you that were not with us when we got underway tonight, Phillips is not going to play tonight. More than likely not going to play tomorrow. And we'll have to wait and see about Wednesday. Of course, the Reds have an off day on Thursday before the St. Louis Cardinals come to town for 3 consecutive night games starting on Friday. That ball lined into right field, a base hit. And the Reds have their first base runner against Tyler Chatwood.
Well, Tyler Chatwood found out that on a a fastball count. If you challenge Jay Bruce and get it over the center of the plate, you're going to see a very hard hit ball somewhere. 2-0 count. Bruce is all over it. We take another look at a Munchin's Furniture slow-mo.
So now Todd Frazier. Batting average starting to creep up a little bit. Todd showing signs of swinging the bat better. No sooner does that come off your lips, it's a 6-4-3 double play. You're pointing at me like I had a lot to do with that. Come on, doctor. Coming up later on in the broadcast tonight, we'll have our Miller Time moment. So just like that, 1 on, nobody out, bases wiped clean, 2 are out, and here's Xavier Paul.
That ball struck sharply by Frazier. Just goes to show you, though, if you hit the ball hard and it's right at somebody, it can backfire on you.
One ball and 2 strikes on Xavier Paul.
Well, Tyler Chatwood is the type of pitcher that really does live down in the zone. And the sample size on him isn't all that big. But when he has pitched in the major leagues, especially last year with Colorado, in the 12 starts that he had, and the 5 starts he's had this year, he is a prolific ground ball pitcher. I mean, big time. And there's another one.
Tulowitzki will throw out Paul, and that's all for the Reds. They got a hit. Nobody left. End of 2. No score. Warriors for serious injuries. Call 1-800-ELK-OHIO.
Now the offenses between these two ball clubs, the Rockies and the Reds, they're very tight and very close to each other, and most of the categories among the leaders in the National League. Runs per game, on base percentage, walks. It's a very similar offense for both of these, and of course both of these ball clubs play in ballparks you would characterize as good places to hit. We'll see which one of these will be able to negotiate the opposing pitching. Walt Weiss in his first year managing this Rocky Ball Club.
Well, apparently we're going to have a change after all behind the plate with Kerwin Danley. Lance Barksdale, the first base umpire, is going to come down and work behind the plate after he gets a gear on. Now, you look back on the career of Kerwin Danley and all of the incidents in which he has had. We talked about being carried off on a stretcher after getting hit by a broken back going back to, what, 2009. He's also collapsed on the field. That was a Reds game he worked a couple of years prior to that. Took a fastball to the face mask in 2008. So now Brian Price coming out to visit with Vic Carapazza on how they're going to work this rotation, working with a three-man crew obviously the rest of the way. And I would assume that Kerwin Danley's not going to come back out and work on any of the base paths.
Well, it happened to him last year again, Kerwin Danley, when he took a 95-mile-an-hour fastball by Rockies pitcher Jeremy Guthrie right to the mask. This is the ball that looks like it goes off the glove of Willen Rosario and then off the face mask of the umpire Danley. But last year when it happened, it was interesting that it happened again here with the Rockies because it was Willen Rosario who was catching. And it evidently was a cross-up between the pitcher and the catcher. And Guthrie lets loose a 95-mile-an-hour fastball and it hits Danley square in the mask without even touching the glove. And that is when Danley decided to move from the old-fashioned type mask to the newer kind of football player or the hockey mask style. But you can tell they're still not perfected.
Well, in between innings once more, Stevie Bauman, the assistant trainer to Paul Assard for the Reds, came out to check on Danley, and that's when clearly he made the decision that's going to be it for tonight. You know, whenever the Reds play a team for the first time during the year, it's interesting to catch up on stories, whether it be on players or coaches or managers, whatever the case may be. Next door to us, over in the Rockies television booth, one of the most extraordinary stories that you'll ever hear, and many of you may remember this, Jerry Schlemel, who handles a play-by-play for the Rockies on television back on July the 19th, 1989. He boarded United Airlines flight 232. That's him right there in the middle. It was originating in Denver and bound for Chicago. An in-flight engine explosion crippled the plane, forced it to crash land in Sioux City, Iowa. There were 296 passengers aboard, including Jerry Schlemel. Horrifically, 112 of them died in that crash landing. And he went on to author the book, Chosen to Live, Chosen to Live. It chronicles the crash of that flight 232 and the subsequent effects of his life. And you talk about a guy who all of a sudden had a great career as a longtime voice of the Denver Nuggets in the NBA, and all of a sudden embarked on a journey that saw him travel across the country, rode a bicycle across the United States as a fundraiser for 2 Denver area charities, raised over $250,000. He went back. He had already gotten his law degree. He decided he was going to coach college baseball, something he had always wanted to do, but let the rest of his career kind of let that get away from him. Started as a volunteer assistant, became the head baseball coach at Metro State College of Denver, and now in the TV booth for the Rockies. That's
what an interesting story that is.
Bronson Arroyo visiting with Gary Cedarstrom. He is the crew chief of this particular game. Well, so Chris, you weren't with us over the weekend. We certainly missed you. Hope you had a great weekend.
You had the first 2 games under control. And I watched a lot of the baseball over the weekend with you guys at the helm. You and Sean Casey did a great job, and just unable to pull that one out yesterday. But what the heck, 2 out of 3 in Pittsburgh after being swept there earlier in the year is pretty good accomplishment.
Indeed it is. While we have a moment, let's check in with Jim Day.
Hey guys, the interesting battle of managers tonight. You got Dusty Baker, who is very high on the all-time wins list, and you've got Walt Weiss in the Colorado dugout. Now both have won World Series as a player, but you look at their resumes and they are very much different. Walt Weiss, first year, as I said, 57 games as a manager compared to Dusty Baker's 3,071. And 14 years as a player in the bigs for Walt Weiss, 19 for Dusty Baker. Both won a World Series, as I said. And we asked Dusty Baker about being a first-year manager, and he had a very interesting answer.
You know, first-year manager, it's about really, you know, getting the, you know, your team, especially when you're a young manager, because just a few years before that, he was still playing. And I was in the same position. The fact that he had been around a lot of times when I used to see him in Colorado is the fact that probably had no, no problem getting their respect. You know, because he's a very respectful guy. And
well, it takes a lot of time to get respect, but if you've played as long as Dusty Baker and Walt Weiss both played in the big leagues, and Chris Welsh, you might be able to speak to this, it goes a long way in gaining respect instantly with your players.
Well, it's tough to stay around a league that long, I can tell you that. Dusty Baker played a long time. Walt Weiss played a long time. And you're right. I mean, those players nowadays in the major leagues, they want to be able to pick up the back of a baseball card and say, what did you ever do? And in the case of Walt Weiss and Dusty Baker, they did a lot. There's no doubt about that.
Well, the Reds have been on the road a great deal here of late, and tonight they're beginning a stretch of where they're going to be home a great deal. This is just the next, 10 games. 3 here against Colorado, then 3 over the weekend against St. Louis. They go to Chicago for a 4-game series, but then they are right back on the home front to open up another 7-game homestand. Milwaukee and the Pirates coming in for 4 games. So the Reds would love to play at the same clip here at Great American Ballpark, with which they have played through their front 27.
Now there he comes.
He's ready to go.
Hey, before we get back to action, I want to say hi to a longtime Reds fan. I mean, she never misses a game, and recently had shoulder surgery. And Toots Nijhuisel, she's in the Hillebrand Nursing and Rehabilitation Center after surgery, and we hope you're feeling a lot better. And hope to see you out the ballpark pretty soon, Toots. And also, how about Jay Cox?
Yeah.
He turned 104 years old in late April. We didn't get the note in time to wish him a happy birthday. He lives down in Louisa, Kentucky, and he served in the Army during World War II. Never misses a game on Fox Sports. So we say, Jay, happy belated birthday to you. And 104 years old, keep on trucking.
In the U.S. Army during World War II. How about that? Jay Cox, thank you for your service and a happy 104th. We understand that when the Reds are on, you better leave Jay Cox alone. Now, what about the effect of Bronson Arroyo and Tyler Chatwood through this lengthy delay?
Well, if anything, it's a mental thing, especially for Bronson Arroyo, because he's had to kind of stand around out there. He got loose, and then they realized that Kerwin Danley was not going to be able to answer the call this inning, so he stopped throwing. He kind of walked around. He visited with Gary Cedarstrom. He visited with Ryan Hannigan. So, I mean, it's not easy to flip the switch on and off. I mean, the mental switch. That'll be the biggest adjustment he's got to stay with. Fortunately, he's got the pitcher up, but this kid can swing the bat. Chatwood comes into this ball game hitting .417. Has driven in 4, has had 12 at bats, and has only struck out once.
Bowler by the mound will be handled by his Terps. And that's the way we begin the 3rd inning of this scoreless game.
Now, the Reds didn't anticipate seeing Cesar Izturis very much, especially at second base, given the fact that Brandon Phillips plays all the time. But Tom, I know you mentioned to me a couple of times during spring training what a a shrewd move, you thought it was, to make sure that they would bring a veteran infielder like Juris in here to play just in case. And he's getting the shot now with Brandon Phillips temporarily on the sidelines. You like that veteran presence.
That ball driven hard into left field, and Xavier Paul able to reach up and get it.
I think that ball carried probably a little farther than Xavier Paul thought it would.
Breaking ball is outside. Arenado bounced out to the shortstop his first time up. Tonight another kid glove night, so I mean we have a huge crowd on hand here tonight, largely due to the fact that we've got so many of the youngsters who are out raising money for local knot-hole baseball, and straight A students are also here tonight. They've earned their way into the old ballpark. 1, 2, 3 for Arroyo. Your Toyota dealer. Visit buyatoyota.com. Toyota, let's go places. And by JTM Food Group, let's create great dishes together. Reds bat here in the last of the third in a scoreless game. They have 1 hit, 1 strikeout recorded by Tyler Chatwood. Ooh, that looks good right there, doesn't it? One to Ryan Hannigan. Latter third in the order. Hannigan is Turris. And then Arroyo. Pirates in Atlanta scoreless in the bottom of the third. The Reds and the Pirates are tied for second in the National League Central Division. And they're tied for the third best record in all of Major League Baseball, behind only the team they're chasing in their division, the Cardinals, who have the best record in baseball, and fractionally better over in the American League, the Texas Rangers. And a 4-pitch walk to Ryan Hanigan starts the Cincinnati second inning. You see the numbers in the National League Central. When you consider St. Louis, Cincinnati, Pittsburgh, Chicago, all 4 of those teams rank among the top 6 starting rotation ERAs in Major League Baseball. So even though the Cubs are 9 games under 500, a lot of those games are getting away from Chicago later in the game, or just their lack of offense. We've seen sloppy play in the field. I mean, they make a lot of mistakes, but they can shut you down with that starting rotation so far anyway. Now is Turris. There's a tapper over the mound. This will be an easy double play. And for a guy batting around right around 160, is Turris now in his last 4 at-bats has swung at the first or second pitch in the at-bat every time up. Went 0 for 5 in the game yesterday, starting for Brandon Phillips. So now Arroyo with 2 down and nobody on. Second double play turned behind Chatwood. They did the same to Todd Frazier after Bruce started the second inning with a base hit. Look out. One of the few spots in the lower bowl down there where there were a couple of empty seats next to one another. You can see there aren't many of them. Started 2, they appeal. He did not go around. 1-2 on Bronson Arroyo, who has 2 hits and 17 at bat so far this year. Chatwood winds, delivers, and misses with a fastball. He was on his way to the third base side dugout. So was the entire infield. You could see all of their bodies just start to momentum stop as it was called ball 2. Arroyo has to spin out of the way of that next fastball, and it's a full count.
Well, Chatwood has exhibited pretty good control here early on. After 5 starts, he's only walked 5 batters, and he struck out 29. So he's a guy that's got a pretty good idea where those pitches are going.
Reds had 6 batters hit by pitches over the 3-game series in Pittsburgh, and you know, you hate to say it out loud, but based on what we saw from both teams this past weekend, going back to what happened last year, that may not be the last time a batter is hit when the Reds and the Pirates get together. And that one whacked into left field, a base hit by Arroyo.
Now, despite being a 118 hitter this year, you give Arroyo enough fastballs and he gets to time that after a while, and he saw one after another, and he finally is able to get one and put a pretty good swing on it right there.
So the 3rd hit of the season and 18 at bats for Arroyo keeps his 3rd inning of a scoreless game alive for Shin-Soo Choo. Breaking ball is strike 1. Chu only had one hit over the weekend against the Pirates. Fastball up and away. In fact, he had just 3 hits on that entire 5-game road trip. That batting average, which most of this year has been well above 300, has slipped down now into the low 280s. So you look at the core group of this Reds players, and they are playing every inning of every game. Now that's a slight exaggeration, but not far from the truth. Votto, Chu, Phillips until the injury, Bruce. Same can be said for a lot of players on a lot of teams around baseball. Slow breaking ball, and way out in front of it was Chu. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Pirates on the board. They score a run in the 3rd inning in Atlanta. 5 minutes away from the Diamondbacks and the Cardinals. The Cardinals are going to miss Mr. Corbett. It's the only Arizona starter they will not see in that 4-game series, and he is 9-0. Chu gone swinging, and that's all for the Reds in the 3rd. A hit, a man left. We head to the 4th. Rockies and the Reds in a scoreless game. Great American Ballpark this Friday night. Reds and the Cardinals. Stick around for the post-game spectacular fireworks show. For tickets, call 513-381-REDS. Visit select Kroger locations, or you can always log on to reds.com/tickets. We remind you again, and we have virtually every day, but perhaps somebody might miss it. Friday's a night game, 7:10. Saturday's a night game, 7:15. Sunday is a night game. If you have a schedule, it came out before the season began, or even after the season began, it would say it's an afternoon game against St. Louis this Sunday, when in fact it is now an 8:05 first pitch Sunday night under the lights here at Great American Ballpark. 3, 4, and 5 in the Colorado batting order here in inning number 4 against Bronson Arroyo. Not quite the shift they had on Carlos Gonzalez his last time up, when he just laid down a bunt third base side and virtually walked to first for an infield hit. He lets it fly this time and bangs it into center field. A single to begin the 4th inning.
Well, he normally puts a bat on the ball, does Carlos Gonzalez, and he doesn't get all of that one right there. In fact, he jams himself a little bit with the ball right on the trademark. Loops it in, so he's been up twice and has been on twice. Tulowitzki, we showed you the numbers that Tulowitzki has had against Bronson Arroyo in his career. They've been really good. 5 for 10 now with an out the first time up.
And of those 5 hits, 2 of them left the yard.
And what Arroyo did the first time up with Tulowitzki was very aggressive with him. Threw 2 fastballs to different parts of the strike zones, and before Tulowitzki knew what was happening, he was down 0-2.
Line to Frazier, hard hit ball, but right at the Reds' third baseman.
He was looking for maybe something a little bit more off speed, and he got it that time. Frazier got it before it had a chance to hook.
1 out, 1 on. Colorado with 3 hits in a game tonight. And now Kadire, who hit a bullet one hopper that found the glove of Arroyo, who threw him out in the 2nd inning. Slow breaking ball drops in there, strike. Reds and the Rockies, 2 of the more difficult teams in the National League to double up. Swing and a foul tip. About 9% of the chances that they can bounce into a double play, these 2 teams do so. And the league average, a couple of points higher than that. See the numbers for Kadire better than last year, and that includes a trip to the disabled list already this season.
Now, one of the things that really separates these 2 teams is their ability and their inclination to run. Now, you've got Carlos Gonzalez at first base. He's got 12 steals, been thrown out once. But look at the numbers now. The Reds and Rockies are right there next to each other, 1st and 2nd in runs scored. But the Colorado Rockies run a tremendous amount. They've scored 46, and the Reds have only run 16 times. So maybe if you look at that number, you say, well, stolen bases really aren't related to runs. Pretty good pitch right there. He had him looking for something else and kind of backdoored him with a fastball. You see Arroyo throw this particular pitch on this part of the plate right here. It'll kind of bend and go this way. And it comes right back over the corner and freezes the right-handed hitter, and strike 3 called. Well, that's an equally effective pitch on a left-handed hitter as well. I don't know whether you draw that conclusion or not from that graphic we just showed you. I mean, 46 steals, 10 caught stealing for the Rockies. 16 steals and 12 caught stealing for the Reds. And that's one reason why the Reds don't run more, is because they're not very successful. Only 57% success rate. When you run and you get thrown out that much, you essentially run yourselves out of innings. He's at 92% right there. The sabermetrics people, when they talk about stolen bases, they'll concede that 80% is about the cutoff line. You can do it better than 80% of the time, it's worth giving it a shot. If you're not successful at least 80% of the time, don't try, because you're going to run yourself out of a potentially big inning. And what the Rockies have done in The month of May was even more impressive than what they've done over all year long. They were 24 of 25 in the month of May. That's 96% success stolen bases. Of course, a lot of times is who you're playing. And I'm not so sure that they will have faced yet a better combination of what they're seeing here tonight with Arroyo and Ryan Hanigan. Arroyo, if you're asking, has given up 2 stolen bases, and Hanigan has thrown out 2.
Well, to come in the side gate and missed it 2-2 the count with Gonzalez, who began this inning, still over at first base. I'm sure based on the numbers you just gave is why we have not seen Gonzalez in motion here. Obviously he's been running even with a big bopper sitting behind him in the lineup at times this year. And that's why, you know, when I hear numbers, and it's not even to argue about, anybody wants to argue about, well, you know, how much your sabermetrics or not. I don't care about any of it. All I'm saying is that when you start lumping anything into a general category, saying 80% of the time, but you hit the nail on the head. Every situation is different. If you're playing the Pirates last year, who threw out 11% of would-be base stealers, why wouldn't you run virtually every time you get on base? If you're facing a Reds team that does a very good job of keeping runners close, getting the ball quickly to the plate, a catcher with a quick release and an accurate arm, well, in that situation, you probably don't run much. So to hear that, you know, if you can't do it 80% of the time, you don't do it. I would make the argument it all depends on who's on that mound, who's behind the plate, and who you've got running at first base. In the third inning of any random game. Would you agree with that?
Yeah. So would you apply the 80% rule individually? You know, like,
I wouldn't have Gonzalez running against this combination necessarily. Starting off an inning like this with some of the guys based on what you just told me.
Okay.
Now,
last year, for instance, Arroyo gave up 7. Hanigan catches it just about all the time. So we could be pretty clear about this combination right here, Hanigan and Arroyo. Last year, he gave up 7 stolen bases with Arroyo on the mound and threw out 5. So
you're probably not running much.
Exactly right.
And I get it.
Word gets around. That's why you're staying at first.
Tapper down to third. And Frazier will throw out Helton, and that will end the inning. So after a leadoff hit, Gonzalez goes nowhere. Middle of the fourth, still no score. For tonight, who were the American League and National League Rookies of the Year in 1988? Well, one of them I know for sure because we generally try to tie it into someone who might be in uniform tonight. And in 1988, one of those two is in uniform with one of these teams tonight.
Well, at least this gives us something a path to go down.
That's right.
And I like that.
I mean, otherwise it'd just be some random question about, do you remember who the 88 Rookies of the Year were? I don't know about you, Mr. Welsh. No. I would have zero clue.
No. That's what Joel Lookup is here for.
That's exactly right.
Also known as Joel Lookup. He probably doesn't have to look that up because he would be one of those guys who would probably know. Pretty good placement right there with that fastball. He does remind you a little bit of Tyler Chatwood of Roy Oswalt. I asked a couple of people around the Rockies, who does he remind you of? And just kind of his way his motion is, where he kind of jumps at the hitter a little bit at the very end. He's got a fast arm. He doesn't throw anywhere near as hard as Roy Oswalt did in his prime. Of course, Roy Oswalt had that real slow, big, kind of a cartoon curveball. But he's throwing a better changeup, or at least showing one tonight that the scouts told me he would.
Chatwood has not allowed a home run away from Denver so far this year. In fact, only Jake Westbrook has more innings pitched without allowing a single home run all year long than Chatwood.
Well, Chatwood's only had 5 starts, but he did not give up a home run in any of his 5 starts in the minor leagues either. What's really remarkable about Chatwood is that, you know, he didn't make the team out of spring training, so they sent him down, and it was kind of a lesson to say, you know, we want you to hang your stuff down in a AAA locker room for a while and really have some major incentive to get up here. And he pitched very well down there, and has actually pitched better statistically at the major league level than down in AAA. That's a pretty good AB when you do that to Joey Votto.
Back-to-back called strikes to retire Cozart and Votto.
Well, he's just struck out 3 in a row right now, so we'll take a look at this one pitch by pitch. Our Mazda sponsors bring that to you, and Joey Votto does foul one off in a 4-pitch strikeout, and takes strike 3 across the knees.
Jay Bruce has the only Reds hit. Well, I beg your pardon. Arroyo got one in the 3rd inning. 1 of 2 hits. Bruce banged one into right field. Big shift again put on Bruce by this Colorado defense.
All right, so is what's good for Carlos Gonzalez good for Jay Bruce? Maybe not. I mean, you know, Jay Bruce hit the ball awfully hard his first time up. He just may be feeling, hey, you know what? I saw Cargo do that, but I'm seeing the ball good off this guy.
Well, he just shot one into left field on a 0-2 pitch. Inning will continue for Todd Frazier. He swung at the first pitch after Bruce had singled leading off the 2nd inning and bounced into a 6-4-3 double play.
Have you ever seen a team go into a very dramatic shift like that they did on Jay Bruce, and then when the count goes to 2 strikes, unshift? That might be the thing to do.
It's not a bad idea. Runner going. And Jay Bruce has picked up his first stolen base of the year.
Rosario's not known for his defense back there. And Jay Bruce takes advantage of Tyler Chitwood really not paying him much attention.
Bruce is a much better than average runner. And with the right combination, if the Reds turn him loose with a little bit more frequency. I mean, Michael Kadire is about, what, 10 years, 11 years older than Jay Bruce. He's 5 out of 6 this year. But at least so far this year, that's just not the Reds' style. I mean, they've got a guy in Zach Cozart who, granted, has had his time a lot of stretches this year getting on base. But Cozart, a guy who stole more than 30 bases in the minor leagues, he does not have a single stolen base attempt so far this year with the Reds. So Bruce gets in a scoring position after a single and a stolen base with 2 men out, and now 2 balls and a strike on Frazier.
Well, I like the timing of the stolen base by Jay Bruce, because you have a couple out. Now a base hit is going to end up scoring it with as deep as this outfield is playing Todd Frazier. If you leave him at first base, it's going to take 2 hits or an extra base hit to score him.
Three and one now to Frazier. Boy, Frazier takes a 3-1 fastball right down the can. And then lofts one into short left. They're going to run on the arm. Here comes the throw to the plate. And it gets away from Rosario, and Frazier will slam on the brakes, and now he'll coast into third after the pitcher couldn't pick the ball up cleanly. So Frazier just dunks one into left field. They test the arm of Gonzalez. A single, a stolen base, another single, and the Reds have a 1-0 lead.
Well, even with Carlos Gonzalez out there, when the base hit goes into left field, look at the swing by Frazier. That ball nearly hit the ground. The chances of the ball hitting the runner are so much greater when that throw comes in from the left field than anywhere else. You almost always want to take a chance as the third base coach, and that's exactly what happened right there with Jay Bruce coming in right in the line of the throw. The ball gets by the catcher Rosario, and Frazier, hustling hard, comes all the way to third base.
So that'll be a single and an RBI for Todd Frazier.
I'm sure Frazier is going to hear about you suggesting that maybe he sort of swung at that 3-1 pitch right down the can.
I wasn't suggesting. I just suggested that he took the 3-1 pitch down the middle.
But then he was waiting for that one. It was 4 inches off the plate and 2 inches off the ground.
Believe me, I will never dare suggest anyone swinging anything. There's a ground ball to short, and that'll end the inning. Just reporting the facts. And the Reds have a 1-0 lead at the end of 4.
And that's a fact.
already. Miller time, our Miller time moment. Remember this last year against Jamie Moyer? Frazier lost the bat and hit it out of the ballpark.
That's called throwing the head right there.
You're right.
And there it is again. I mean, the Rockies, after seeing that last year and then seeing this again this year. Like, man, this guy invents swings against us.
So a 1-0 ball game for Bronson Arroyo. He faces 7, 8, and 9 in the Colorado batting order, and Willeen Rosario swings at the first pitch, pops it into the glove of the backpedaling Cesar Izturis. 1 pitch, 1 out for Arroyo.
You know, I think Arroyo and any pitcher would prefer to have fewer pitches per plate appearance, but especially a guy like Arroyo. I'm not really sure what the advantage is of going up there and hacking at a first pitch curveball. And I mean, that curveball was so slow that Rosario actually slowed down his swing to make contact with it.
Oh, and 1 count on DJ LeMahieu. He flied out to center field, his only time up. In there, strike. Pitcher Chad Wood on deck. Reds very aggressive on the bases in that 4th inning. Jay Bruce, a 2-out single. As there's strike 3 to LeMahieu, steals second base. And then on the single by Frazier, you're talking about running against one of the better throwing outfielders in the game, in Gonzalez. And they score the run. Well, you know the drill for Red. It's a home run off that Toyota sign during our game. Tonight, Luke Underhill would win the beautiful new Tundra. And you can register for your chance to win at an upcoming game by visiting your Cincinnati and Northern Kentucky Toyota dealer. Chatwood trying to bunt his way on. And he whiffed on it, strike 1. Arroyo 3 strikeouts in the game. That one bunted right in front of Ryan Hannigan. Boy, that was one quick inning right there. A 6-pitch inning for Arroyo. Reds right back at it, leading 1-0. Who were the American League and National League Rookies of the Year in 1988. We remember around here, National League Rookie of the Year, Chris Sabo, of course, and Walt Weiss for the Oakland Athletics. A couple years later, Sabo, one of the driving forces behind the Reds winning the World Series in 1990, and of course they beat Walt Weiss and the Oakland Athletics in it. Well, Rob Scahill is taking over on the mound for Tyler Chatwood. You wonder, Chris, what may have happened to Tyler Chatwood. He was throwing a good ball game here tonight.
Well, Chatwood made the last out of the 5th inning. I'm wondering if maybe injured a leg or pulled a muscle running down the first baseline on that ground ball. Walt Weiss sees his starter after just 4 innings leaving the ball game. The Reds got that 1 run against him in the last inning on a couple of base hits and an error. Now Rob Scahill in the major leagues for the 2nd consecutive season. Had a cup of coffee last year. We'll take another look at that at bat by Chatwood right here. See if you see something. Oh. Can't be out of breath. But he's out of the ball game. One thing the Rockies have been very conservative about is how they use their starting pitchers and how they are conservative with their pitch counts. I mean, the Rockies don't normally even pitch 100 pitches. They get them out of there after about 90, and the starter Chatwood was only in the mid-60s. So I don't think that was it, but something's going on, and that's why he's out of the ball game.
Well, remember last year they went through that crazy routine. Jim Tracy not allowing his pitchers to go any more than about 50-60 pitches in games, and then he was rotating guys in and out, and the number of starters he had in the rotation. Jim Tracy, 4 years a manager in Colorado. Of course, from just up the road in Hamilton, Ohio, Jim Tracy.
Probably watching us tonight. Although I think nowadays Trace is more West Coast of Florida guy. I think he's down in Sarasota area.
I thought he stayed in California. I don't know why.
Well,
because his kids I know went to high school, but they're all out of the house, I believe, now.
I was talking to their pitching coach before the ball game, and he wasn't sure, but he was speculating where he might be.
Well, he's one of our all-time favorite guys.
No doubt about that.
And not a better man you'll ever meet in your life than Jim Tracy. Had a chance to manage the Dodgers. Of course, grew up in the same hometown as Dodger Hall of Fame manager Walter Alston. Saw him as skipper of the Pirates and up until the end of last year with the Rockies. 0-2 to Ryan Hanigan. Hanigan walked leading off the 3rd inning. And Scahill delivers. And it's taken down low. Chris mentioned Scahill spent the balance of his season at AAA. 14 relief outings down there over 31 innings. And in the 31 innings at AAA has allowed 16 earned runs. Made his major league debut in September of last year. Still a young man, and he grew up, or went to college anyway, over in Illinois. Tell you, we've seen a lot of players lately with different teams the Reds have played that came out of high school and or colleges in Illinois. A lot of good baseball in and around the Midwest. I know that, and you know that, Florida and Texas and California, big states, warm weather states, get a lot of pub for a lot of players that come out of there. And they went to per capita. That article was done by USA Today, what, about 4 or 5 years ago, that only Tampa, Florida per capita had more players in the major leagues at the time than right here in Cincinnati.
Well, you got the amateur programs here in Cincinnati that have been so good for so strong. Of course, the first one that comes to your mind is Midland, but they're joined in this area by many others. Mike Daly out in Hamersville has a tremendous program.
The 2 on Hannigan. And that one pulled into left field, a base hit. Hannigan aboard for the second time. And I get ready for Reds action 30 minutes before every game. We call it Reds Live. And it's presented by Ray St. Clair Roofing. How about the special appearance in and amongst them tonight by Chris Welsh, and he'll be down there again in the post-game version for Reds Live, brought to you by Kings Honda and the Kings Auto Mall. Visit KingsHondaUSA.com.
Yeah, we brought the message that this month on Reds Live, on the pregame version, is all about rules on Tech Talk.
Nice.
Did a lot of episodes with Ted Barrett, longtime and very smart Major League umpire. He sets us straight on a lot of rules that, man, I didn't know the answers to.
It's a great guy to get. He makes his home out there in Arizona, if I'm not mistaken, right? So by the time you get out there, you know, before spring training gets started, you can have him come on over. It's always very interesting when you have those. But I liked your appearance down there tonight on the set with Jim Day and Jeff Picorno. That was nice. I know you were.
That was fun.
Shaking a lot of hands down there and hanging out with some of the folks.
A lot of people asked me who I was working with up here tonight, and we're excited that you were going to be behind the mic. We're hoping that one day that you get down there on that set and be amongst the people. Because
the last time I went down there was after the Reds clinched the National League Central Division title. And you may remember I was limping around with a broken leg, and they had me down there. And want to know the count on Cesar Torres. Runner going, and a swing and a foul ball out of play. How about that? Playing a little hit and run with Hannigan and Torres.
Well, Torres has a tendency to put the ball on the ground, and I think that Dusty Baker's just trying to stay away from a double play ball, what he saw in the last inning.
Will they try it again on 1-1? Long pause on the mound. Runner not going, and that one swung on and missed. See Dusty Baker wearing a sweatshirt. Chris Spire wearing the turtleneck underneath his jersey tonight. Temperatures during the day today were only in the low to mid 70s, expected to drop into the low 50s tonight. It's already a little on the cool side here for the first week of June.
Well, hang around here for a month or so. Those cool evenings will be nothing but a memory.
But nice to have him now.
Yes, it is.
There's Torres waiting on the 2-2 pitch, and he fouls it over the screen. We'll do it again.
By the way, we're reminded by our Reds Live producer Kent Dream Weaver that if you do have umpire questions, you know, would you define a strike zone, or would you any kind of question about maybe a situation you saw at your son's baseball game, you can send it to Jim at Jim Day TV. Is that right? On Twitter. You have to have a Twitter account, and that Twitter account would, to get the Jim Day, would be at Jim Day TV.
Oh, Jim Day is standing by. One out in the inning, and that'll bring up Bronson Arroyo. Arroyo fell behind a couple of strikes his last time up. Worked the count full and then whacked one into left field for a base hit.
You know, Tom, you were talking about the nice cool weather that we're having here. In fact, jackets and sweatshirts being worn. And I just got a text from our good buddy Tom Browning, who's down in Goodyear, Arizona, where it is a nice 108. Hang with him, Brownie.
I've been there, brother. 12 years of it.
Wow.
I got to tell you, though, I mean, you know, look,
you're not going to tell me it's a dry heat.
No, not at all. I'm just going to tell you, it really is once you get settled in there, and maybe Tom will write you back and say it's brutal. I'm telling you, I'll take 108 there over 90, 92, 95 here, except for the month of August. All day, every day. Perfect bunt there by Arroyo, and he's tagged out by help.
Well, that was the only way that they were going to be able to get Ryan Hannigan to second base, is to lay that bunt down the first baseline, because, man, oh man, Nolan Arenado came charging in. I mean, he couldn't have been more than 40 feet away from home plate when that ball was laid down. So you had to go down the first baseline, and Arroyo gets it done. He came in leading the team with 6 sacrifices. That's number 7.
So now a chance to get on the or add to this 1-0 lead for Shin-Soo Choo, who's flied out to center and struck out swinging. Reds got a 2-out hit by Frazier to score Jay Bruce for the game's only run. 1 inning ago.
For Mr. Choo, as Mr. Dusty Baker likes to refer to him as. I'm reminded by a good fan, Sharon Cooper of Centerville, that Mr. Choo was a character in the Green Beret movie. 1968.
Now I don't remember that movie.
I don't remember that movie? I remember the song, of course, the Battle of the Green Beret, but I don't remember the movie. But I had John Wayne in it, Jim Hutton. I'm going to rent it.
Well, if a Duke was in there, you can't go wrong. Riano to Choo with Cozart waiting in the on deck circle.
Well, Willeen Rosario now turning around to the home plate umpire saying, where was that one? He was doing a lot of moving as that ball was playward.
Rio pitch taken in there, a strike. Choo nearly a 300 batter with 2 outs and runners in scoring position during his entire career. And looking for a knock right now. It's way inside, and he'll draw the 2-out walk. And here comes Cozart, who has struck out swinging and looking, but both of those at bats came against starter Tyler Chatwood. Colorado coming to town, having won the final 2 games of that weekend series against their division rival Dodgers. The Dodgers, a team payroll in excess of $200 million. And the only 3 teams in the National League with a worse record are Milwaukee, New York, and Miami. We invite you to fans to get ready for Fox Sports 1, America's new 24-hour sports network. Fox Sports 1 will be a great home for live sports, all the news and highlights you want, shows and specials that only Fox can bring you. America's new sports network is Fox Sports 1. coming on August the 17th. A little more than 2 months. A very exciting time for the Fox family. Well, Cozart waiting, 2 on, 2 out. And takes the first pitch in there for a strike. Cozart, 24 runs batted in on the season. You see his numbers with 2 outs and runners in scoring position. That's roughly about 20 points better than his overall season average coming into the game tonight. Did he go? They appeal, and that's the appeal to second base. Umpires will move around. We are 1 umpire short for those of you that are just tuning in. Kerwin Danley began the night as a home plate umpire. Took a bouncing ball that hit him right in a face mask. Stayed in the game and then left the game, and Lance Barksdale came on to take over. So we're working with a 3-man crew as it's 2-2 on Cozart. We certainly hope that Kerwin Danley is all right. We've not received any word on his condition since he went back up into the umpire's room, and that's basically right alongside the visitors dugout, the far end of the visitors dugout here at Great American Ballpark. Two on, 2 out, 2 balls, 2 strikes. Cozart is struck out for the 3rd time in a game. It's 1-0 Reds. We go to the 6th.
Of Cincinnati and Northern Kentucky, and here is your Honda game summary. Early in the ball game, a foul on ground. A ball went off the glove of Willeen Rosario, then off the face mask of the home plate umpire Kerwin Danley, and after sticking out for an inning or so, Danley ended up having to leave the ball game. Bronson Arroyo warmed up, waited around a while, but he is being Bronson Arroyo as he normally is at Great American Ballpark tonight, where he's won 4 of his 5 games. Todd Frazier steps up with a runner at second base, and coming to the plate is Jay Bruce, and will hit him en route, and that is the only run of the ball game. The run batted in goes to Todd Frazier. The run scored to Jay Bruce, and 1-0. We are in the top of the 6th.
And here we go, the 3rd time through the batting order with Dexter Fowler to be followed by Arenado, and boy, there's another 1st pitch routine out.
That is 7 pitches and 4 outs for Bronson Arroyo. Who's complaining?
Well, he's 16 out of 19, throwing a first pitch strike tonight.
You know, it's almost as if Arroyo throws that ball so slow, and it looks so tantalizing. And a major league hitter saying, you know what, I can hit that pitch. That they can't stay back. You usually see many more pitches taken by those pitchers that have tremendous stuff. I mean, check swings from Homer Bailey or Matt Harvey or somebody who's throwing 96.
Soft liner right into the glove. So that's 3 pitches, 2 outs in this inning. Big weekend. Redlegs and the Cardinals at Great American Ballpark, presented by Kroger. Great baseball. We got the fireworks show on Friday night, giveaways during the weekend. Sunday night we're playing baseball under the lights at 8:05. And some tickets still available. 381 Reds. Select Kroger locations you can stop in and find out if they're available there, or log on to reds.com/tickets. Cardinals with a 1-0 second inning lead in the first of 4 against the NL West leading Arizona Diamondbacks. Well, I got a lot of buddies out there, having lived in Arizona as long as we had the chance to do so, and I tell you, they are very excited about the play of D.D. Gregorius. It's part of that 3-team deal that brought Shin-Soo Choo here and sent Drew Stubbs to Cleveland and D.D. Gregorius to Arizona. It's a long year, but boy, what a great start Didi's off to for the Diamondbacks.
Well, he is a very talented player, and I can probably guarantee you that inside the baseball operations department, it was not unanimous to trade D.D. Gregorius, but you got to take a chance.
Sure.
I mean, you know, this ball club needed a leadoff hitter. Chu was available. He was on the list, and you know, given what he has done for this ball club so far, you can't look back. You hope D.D. Gregorius has a great career, but you also hope the Reds are able to take advantage of what Chu has been able to bring them.
On the ground to Votto. How about that? Top of the order, wasting no time to retire. Fowler, Arenado, and Gonzalez in order. Children's Hospital ranking 3rd in the nation on the U.S. News and World Report's 2012 honor roll for best children's hospitals in America, and by Chevy. Stop into your Tri-State Chevy dealer today and check out our full line of fuel-efficient vehicles. Fountain Square, downtown Cincinnati on this beautiful Monday night. Good crowd on hand. First game of the 6-game homestand. First of 3 against Colorado. A team that comes to town on a 2-game winning streak. In second place in the NL West behind the Diamondbacks. Reds in second place in the National League Central, 2.5 behind the Cardinals. Rob Scahill on a relief of Tyler Chatwood, who lasted 4 innings tonight, only gave up 1 run, 4 hits, 1 walk, and 4 strikeouts, and then left the game. And we have not received any word on his condition as to why he left. They gave Scahill as much time as he needed to get ready, which means that Chatwood technically had to leave this game with an injury to allow a reliever all the time he needs to get loose on the mound. Votto has bounced out to short, and he is struck out looking. 2 balls and a strike. Ball to the right side and the glove side of Todd Helton. Well, we're barely getting the ball tomorrow night. Johnny Cueto will get the game of the finale on Wednesday. Reds have that off day Thursday in the Reds rotation. For the Cardinals, we'll have Leak, Latos, Arroyo Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Boy, how well is Mike Leak throwing the ball? His earned run average over his last 10 starts now is under 2. And for the year, and you got to throw in the only bad game he had all year long, his earned run average is 2.75.
It's really amazing to think that he would be considered a 5th starter. And most teams, when you look around and you go up and down through the rotation, you know, you have your best pitcher, your ace. And when you get down to the number 4 and 5 guys, now those 4 and 5 guys, if those teams could at the very beginning of the year say, you know what, I wish of an owner or a general manager or a field manager say, I wish my number 5 guy was good enough to make 33 starts a year. But normally, you know, he's good enough to make 15, then you're finding somebody else, and this guy doesn't pan out, you're bringing somebody else in. And if that number 5 slot can come anywhere close to 500, that's a general manager's dream right there, because you win your games with your other guys. And then you have the Reds and Mike Leake. He's putting up numbers. I mean, no one's going to look at his stuff and say he's an ace, but he's putting up numbers that a number 1 starter would put up.
Well, you know, even looking at last year when Leake finished 1 game under 500, a lot of people were very upset about the year he put together. The bottom line is, if you take 3 steps back and you say, okay, to borrow your example, he's our number 5 guy. He made 30 starts last year. The Reds won 16 of the 30 times their number 5 starter was on the mound. And I think every team in baseball would take pretty much that record all day, every day. They won 2, 3, 6. We're off to the 7th. Reds still lead 1-0.
by Head and Shoulders, now with a hint of Old Spice. And how about that backwards K? That's what we're talking about tonight. The caught-looking strikeout, and we've seen a bunch of them. The Reds have gone down 3 times that way, and Bronson Arroyo has treated the Colorado Rockies to a few called third strikes. Todd Frazier, the most recent to end the last inning. But Arroyo right now, top of the 7th inning, holding a 1-0 lead. You know, with the way Arroyo is throwing the ball tonight, it seems like the margin that the Reds have over the Rockies is greater than just 1 run. But do not fall asleep with this Rockies offense. They can score a bundle of runs in a hurry.
Well, we know that. We talked about it earlier. 2 of the top scoring teams in the league. And you got a guy right now with 12 home runs and 43 runs batted in, digging in. First pitch fastball. And there's a strike.
Well, that pitch that he has come up with, being able to feather that ball right on the outside corner, having it look like a ball to a right-hander and a left-hander for that matter, and just come right back and hit the corner. That's a pitch that will add years to the career of Bronson Arroyo.
Tell you the way he takes care of himself, his mechanics, his style of pitching, which doesn't appear to put a lot of stress on his body. You got to believe there are a lot of good years left for Bronson Arroyo. 0-2. Arroyo a free agent at the end of the year. There's been such a great trade for this franchise, coming over from Boston for Willie Mo Pena, and has etched his name in many categories among all-time Reds pitchers. He has just been so rock solid dependable. The most wins among all National League pitchers since 2006. The most starts, second most innings. Not been a 20-game winner. Not won a Cy Young Award. None of that kind of thing. Been to the All-Star game. Well, when it comes to dependability, accountability, and productivity, this guy has been solid beyond belief. 2-2 to Tulowitzki.
Well, it's not necessarily what you do over 1 year, but what about over a period of years? Going back to 2006, the number of quality starts, the leaders, Matt Cain, Arroyo, Cole Hamels, and Tim Lincecum. You could fool a lot of people by asking that question and seeing if Arroyo belonged in that list. Well, he really is very proud of the fact that he makes every start.
We talked about it many times. Never ices his arm. One time he did it. He didn't feel right the next day. Hadn't done it since. He's in great shape.
That's an old-fashioned approach right there with the no ice.
I think that's a thing, and we've talked about it so many times through the years, but you know, who knows if Arroyo's going to be back here next year. There's no sense of getting worked up over about it now. There's nothing we can do to control it. So just enjoy him while he is here. We'd love to have him around here for a long, long time, but enjoy the ride while it's going on right in front of us.
Well, you hope it doesn't become a distraction like it could with the contract status of Chu. Make Cincinnati a whole lot more attractive if you take this team right through the playoffs and end up in the World Series.
Pretty good battle going on right here. This will be the 9th pitch in this at bat.
That's about 2 innings worth for Arroyo, isn't it?
It has been lately.
I mean, he threw 6 in the 5th and 7 in the 6th.
Well, here comes pitch number 9. And right back to Arroyo. That's a big out to begin this 7th inning, getting Tulowitzki in a 1-0 game.
Well, that was a good battle between those two guys. A long at bat right there. Finally, Tulowitzki chases a pitch up and out of the zone.
So Brandon Phillips' arm all wrapped up, but still able to have a good time with his teammates down in the dugout. And an 0-2 pitch that caught a little bit too much of the plate, and Kadire didn't hit it hard, but he found a hole in the center field, and that ends a string of 10 in a row retired by Arroyo.
Yeah, just the 4th Colorado Rocky hit of the night. Well, Kadire would prefer to have him on the inner part of the plate anyway.
Arroyo had retired not only the 10 in a row, but 15 of the last 16. They had the bunt hit by Gonzalez in the 1st inning. He was stranded. A 1-out single by Helton in the 2nd. A leadoff single by Gonzalez in the 4th. And Kadire, the first Rocky to reach since the Gonzalez single.
Now let's hope he remembers how to pitch out of the stretch. Been a while.
Yeah, first time in 3 innings. And we told you Kadire, even with a trip to the disabled list this year, I mean, he's been running a little bit. 5 steals in 6 attempts. That's not his game, but obviously the Rockies are picking their spots. And there's ball 1 high to Helton.
Well, the one thing about running on Arroyo tonight, I mean, he doesn't have very many strikeouts. In fact, he has had games this year where he has not struck out anybody at all. So he's a contact pitcher. So if you run the hitter, you got a pretty good chance you're going to put the ball in play somewhere. If you find a hole, now everything could work for you.
Kadire a pretty good lead over there, held on by Votto, and there he goes. And it's a soft liner off 1 hop to the 3rd baseman, Frazier.
That's a double play.
I thought it was a line drive, but the way the umpires signaled, they signaled as though that ball hit the ground first.
Now they're going to get the umpires together right here, I'm sure.
Well, the second base umpire, I think, is all but admitting that I'm going to need a little help. I think that's what he's letting everybody know here. The home plate umpire already having made changes tonight when Kerwin Dantley had to leave the game. Lance Barksdale talking to Gary Cedarstrom. The fellow on the right there is Gary Cedarstrom, the big tall guy, and he is the crew chief. Golf that thing.
I'll tell you, yeah, the ball was right on the plate, it looked like. So the question mark is going, or the question is whether it was in the air or whether it was on the ground. Did he lift this ball up? It actually hit the ground first and then was batted.
Yeah, but if he hit the ball, then it was hit in the air.
That's what I agree.
So there should be a fly ball, pop up, soft liner, call it whatever you want to call it, double play.
Well, the problem though is that we've got the advantage of seeing it in slow motion.
You're right.
And if you're behind home plate, Lance Barksdale probably didn't see it because he's blocked out by the catcher. So it would be rely on one of the other umpires out in the field to be able to say, that ball was hit in the air by the batter and it didn't bounce off the plate. What the umpires are probably suggesting is that the ball was hit by Helton and it would hit off the plate, and that's what made it bounce into the air. Dusty Baker's arguing the right point, but I'm not so sure they're going to come to the right decision.
So again, it is the pitched ball that hits the ground, and off the ground, he hit it fat, was Helton. That's amazing, isn't it?
Be a good cricket player. Wow. That could be a big call in this ball game.
Could be a very big call, because that's a tying run out there at third base. You could read Dusty's lips. He said, I could see that from here. I don't know. Baseball continues to talk. They are really exploring ways about how to better utilize instant replay in a game of baseball. And I mean, they are working diligently. Lots of experimentation and looking at many avenues and ways in which they could utilize video replay without slowing the game down to a standstill. There's been discussion about putting an extra umpire up in a television booth for every single game. That ball hit down the right field line. Bruce trying to run it down, and he does to keep it a shutout. Good play by Jay Bruce. So the runner left at second base. Justice is served. They play a rare Wednesday night game this week against the Philadelphia Union. Whitebird just brings you all the action beginning at 7:30. Go to foxsportsohio.com to see the channel assignments in your area. Welcome back to Great American Ballpark. 7th inning stretch time. The Reds with a 1-0 lead. Of course, the Reds had back-to-back shutouts on Friday and Saturday nights in Pittsburgh. And 6 more outs to go tonight. They'd love to give Bronson Arroyo a little bit more room here, as they will have Paul Hannigan and his tourists coming up. Rockies have a left-hander, Josh Outman, getting loose in their bullpen. Scales done a nice job. He ran into a little trouble with 2 men out in the 5th inning, but struck out Kozak. Then went right through the heart of the order. Votto, Bruce, Frazier without a ball leaving the infield in the Reds' 6th. 1 run, 5 hits for the Reds. No runs, 4 hits for Colorado.
Well, that's good running that fastball too that Scahill's throwing up there. It's not straight. He throws it firm too at 95.
Broken bat goes flying into foul ground up the first base line. And Paul is thrown out by Tulowitzki.
And as you know, there are 2 ways to break a bat. One is to jam a batter right in on the hands and have the handle break like that. The other is to get it way out on the end of the bat. A vibration break right there. Bat head goes into foul territory just out of the first base line down near Billy Hatcher.
Been a good night for Ryan Hannigan. Meanwhile, he has walked and singled. And a little dribbler up the third base line. Foul. Oh, and 1 to Hannigan. That's another Red drilled with a pitch. Talked about all the times they were hit over the weekend. And for the season, now Chu's been hit 17 times himself. 32 Reds batters have been hit by pitches. The opposition nowhere near that number.
There's no way Ryan Hannigan was getting out of the way of that one. No.
Opposition has been hit 20 times by Reds pitching, most recently by Matt Latos yesterday. So we always talk so much about that Reds-Cardinals rivalry, and rightfully so. I mean, I think even the people in St. Louis agree that while the Cubs have been their, long traditional rival, border states, etc. That one bounced to the right side. They get the out of Hannigan, and that's all they'll get for the second out of the inning. Nice play there by LeMahieu. Went a long way to get that.
You're not kidding about that. You keep after reminding yourself that this is a 1-0 ball game right here. So everybody who gets into scoring position is very important. Red's trying to add another one to it right there. And LeMahieu is thinking, I got to get that lead runner. It's a catcher running. And he goes far to his left before he slides and fields and turns and makes a nice play.
Now Arroyo, a single and a sacrifice. In the air, Kadire in to get it, and that's all. The man left. We move to the 8th. Reds 1, Rockies nothing. Meal Deal. You check out concession stands around the ballpark. Kroger Meal Deal means you get a full-size adult hot dog, a bag of chips, a 16-ounce Coke, and during this homestand, Chobani Champions Yogurt. Make sure you get your Kroger Meal Deal during your next visit to the ballpark. One nothing. Reds in front of the Colorado Rockies as Derek Robinson will take over out in left field for Xavier Paul. 1 run, 5 hits, 5 men left on base for the Reds. Arroyo has shut out Colorado on 4 base hits. The Rockies have left 4 on base. So here we go, 8, 9, and 1 in the batting order. It'll start with LeMahieu, a pinch hitter. And then the leadoff man, center fielder Dexter Fowler. LeMahieu tonight has fly to center and struck out looking. Line drive allowed out, but another first pitch out.
I mean, 83 pitches for Bronson Arroyo. You can't imagine anybody being any more efficient with the way he's been able to get his job done tonight. The Rockies, of course, have cooperated by being very aggressive early in the count. But Arroyo, who I mentioned in the first inning, I mean, he's throwing his fastball 84, 85 miles an hour, and he's just cruising right along.
Eric Young, yes, the son of longtime major leaguer Eric Young. Up there pinch hitting for Scahill. Scahill gives him 3 innings of 1-hit shutout baseball out of the bullpen. Yeah, those are 2 good arms the Reds saw tonight.
You're not kidding.
In the air on the second pitch of the at-bat. And there's Derek Robinson, and there's out number 2 here in the 8th.
Well, he's already had 3 innings in which he has not even thrown double-digit number of pitches. The 3rd, the 5th, the 6th. And he's got 2 out here in the 8th, and he's only thrown 3 pitches.
So here's Fowler, 0 for 3. His fly to center, line to left, fly to center again, and again a first pitch swing, and again a first pitch out. A 4-pitch inning for Bronson Arroyo. It is 1-0. We head for the bottom of the 8th. only run. Down around the shoot tops. Frazier went out and got it on a 3-2 pitch after Bruce had singled and stolen the base. Frazier knocks in what has been so far the game's only run. That came in the 4th inning. Take a look at that. Probably about 4 or 5 inches off the ground, down and away from him. And dropped it over the shortstop's head for RBI number 32 for Todd Frazier. Boy, this is where the managers, they earn their money. You know, you make decisions. As Josh Outman comes on from the bullpen. You know, yesterday, a lot of people scratching their head and wondering why you wouldn't bring in Aroldis Chapman for the final out in the 8th inning with a left-handed batter at the plate and a 2-run lead. Dusty stayed with Broxton, who gave up the 2-run home run to tie the game against Eric Garrett-Jones. And now you have a situation here tonight where you can't throw the ball better than Arroyo has thrown the ball. His pitch count is virtually next to nothing. He has a 1-0 lead. Do you let him take the ball against what would be 2, 3, and 4 in the batting order for the top of the 9th inning in a 1-0 game? Should it stay 1-0? We'll find out exactly what that decision from Dusty Baker will be shortly. Chapman has only pitched in 1 game over the last 7 days. That was on Saturday night in Pittsburgh when he picked up the save at his strike 3 to chew. Well, if you're hitting the road, take Fox Sports Ohio's coverage right along with you. It's MLB.TV and it's baseball everywhere. Cozart has struck out 3 times, twice swinging, once looking. And first pitch swinging this time, drops it foul and on a play.
Well, Tom, we've got a camera down in the Reds bullpen. We've got cameras in both those bullpens that we can check out. And watching Aroldis Chapman warm up down there, he appears to me like he's getting himself ready to come into a ball game. If you were just being up just in case, you would be, playing some nice easy catch, stay 10 or 12 pitches away from being hot and being able to come into game. Well, I don't think I've seen in a long time a pitcher have as easy a night as Bronson Arroyo appears to have. I mean, it's not easy out there, folks. Even when it looks easy, it's not. But my goodness.
That one in the air, right center field. It might fall. It will. And Cozart alertly never stopped running, and that ball bounces right by Fowler and Kadire, and it turns into a 2-base hit for Cozart.
Well, that could be a big play, especially with Joey Votto and Jay Bruce coming up. I really thought that ball had a chance to be caught. If Kadire wants to go really after it hard, maybe even leave his feet. But I think he kind of got spooked out there by the presence of the center fielder coming over. Now we just see the back end of it right there, but from our perch, that ball looked catchable.
They scored that, a base hit and then an error on the center fielder, Fowler. Votto with a chance to knock in a run. Joey 0 for 3 tonight. And he's down strike one against the left-hander Outman. If you're wondering, Bronson Arroyo in his career, 13 complete games. 5 of them for shutouts. Barely got a piece of it, did Votto. Popped out of the mitt of Rosario, and it's still no balls and 2 strikes.
A little more tentative swing that time, even with him choking up a little bit.
Well, the Reds left on their last road trip. Votto's batting average was up to .354. We mentioned he only had a couple of hits on the entire trip, and he has just struck out again.
Well,
he didn't even wait for the umpire to tell him he had struck out.
He's a workhorse, and he's been playing every day.
Yep.
And he looks tired. 58 games tonight for Joey Votto.
Take a look at our Subway in-game box score. Really not much to it. A single by Jay Bruce, a rare stolen base by any Red this season. For Bruce, it was his first of the season after he had a 2-out single in the 4th inning. And as fate would have it, Frazier knocked him in. Swing and a miss. 0-1 to Jay Bruce. Arenado, Gonzalez, and Tulowitzki. The scheduled trio in the Colorado ninth. Bronson Arroyo working on a 4-hit shutout through 8. Oh, and 1 to Bruce. That missed inside and low. But another guy they brought up from the minor leagues this year when Chad Volstad was sent out. They brought him up from Colorado Springs. That ball is launched, and the Reds' lead goes to 3-0.
Bruce with 3 hits on the night, none bigger than this one. He gets a fastball up and in and just drops the hammer. This ball goes 5 rows from being out of the ballpark. Completely out of the ballpark.
Jay Bruce, home run number 9. He now has 38 runs batted in. That's second most on the team behind Phillips.
That's a little big sigh of relief down there in that Reds dugout.
Well, do you change your line of thinking now a little bit? I mean, do you think about giving Arroyo a chance to go out there and begin the night?
Well,
still a save situation.
It is still
right
a save situation, and what we've seen, you know, is that if there's a save situation, you're going to see Aroldis Chapman in the ballgame
in the 9th inning.
He is still down in the bullpen right now, throwing. So it appears he's coming in. And you know what? If you've already made the decision, you've got to make a change, because Arroyo may have mentally checked out at this point. He's given the Reds whatever they needed, which was 8 innings of shutout baseball. You told him we're going to bring the big guy in the 9th inning, so you relax mentally. You can't come back and flip the switch on because that's an awfully tough mental thing to do.
Does every manager you used to play for, did every single one of them, there's a little flare, it's going to fall in it. Did every single one of them, if you would have been in a situation like this, in other words, did every single manager walk up to you at the end of the 8th inning, or one of the other pitchers on your staff, and say,
that's more likely,
and say, I've already made the decision? Or would they let you just sit there, stay focused? You know, you might be wondering if they're taking you out, but they don't want to tell you because, you know, maybe something like this, what we're watching right now, happens. Who knows? Maybe Frazier just gets this hit. Now Paul hits a ball in the seats, and it's a 5-0 game, and you still haven't told the pitcher you're definitely coming out. Did everybody always tell you or somebody you played with at the end of the inning?
I think it varies manager by manager. No, I mean, I always assumed I was staying in the ball game until someone told me I was coming out.
I want to ask you a little bit more about this. So we're forced to take a commercial break here with a pitching change, but so Skyline Chili called to the pen. We'll be back. Reds lead 3-0 after the Bruce home run. Huge ones. With a runner at second base, he made this nice running grab down the line for the final out in the 7th inning. And that's our John Morrell hot dog first play of the game. And then Jay with a man aboard here in the 8th inning. A home run to take it from 1-0 to 3-0. Manny Corpus comes on from the Colorado bullpen. Couple of hits, 2 runs allowed by Outman, struck out 2. Robinson bats for the first time, and it's a ball and a strike. Foul ball. That ball stung to center field by Robinson. So now Ryan Hannigan about it. Well, when Manny Corpus first came up, he looked like he was going to be a force in the Colorado bullpen for a long time. You see Arroyo down there talking to Ryan Price.
Well, from the body English of Bronson Arroyo right there, he's out of the ball game. There's no question about that. From what I understand, he had a previous conversation with Brian Price as soon as he came off the field after the top of the inning. And that's when Brian Price went to the phone and ended up calling Jorge Lopez to get Aroldis Chapman up. I think at this stage in his career, Bronson Arroyo probably doesn't care one way or another whether he gets a complete game or not. He wants the wins, and he wants the team wins. Corpus is really a name out of the past for the Colorado Rockies.
Boy, this guy looked so good when he first came up.
A young pitcher, he threw the ball very well. He signed with the Rockies at the age of 16 years old back in 1999.
Well, he missed an entire season a couple of years ago.
Elbow injury.
Yep, underwent the Tommy John surgery in August of 2010, missed all of 11. And he has walked Hannigan, and they are loaded.
Hannigan has been on every time tonight.
So now is Turris with Frazier at third, Paul at second, and Hannigan after the walk at first base. Is Turris 0 for 3. Bounced into a double play. Twice he's hit the ball on the ground and twice at the second baseman. There's ball one up and away. St. Louis beginning to separate itself from Arizona now. That game in the bottom of the fifth inning. First of 4 in that series between division leaders. 5-0 Cardinals. They're in the fifth. 2-0. Well, right now still a save situation, and Chapman is more than ready down in the bullpen. But should the Reds tack on to this lead, they now have Logan Ondrusek throwing in the bullpen. And they're a pitch away from making it a 4-0 game. Turris. Well, it's Turris with a 3-2 pitch coming up. And a ground ball to short. Play for Tulowitzki will be the first, and that's all. So Aroldis Chapman will come on and try and nail it down. The 2-run home run by Bruce makes it 3-0. 3-0 ball game after the 2-run home run from Jay Bruce in the last of the 8th inning. So now Aroldis Chapman, 14 of 16 in save chances so far this year. We'll try and get the final 3 outs of the night.
Well, I imagine, Tom, if you were one of the thousands of Kid Glovers that are here tonight, this is one of the many Kid Glove games. I think there are 5 of them this year the Reds have been sponsoring. And you don't have to be only in not all. You can be playing softball. You can play in double ABC. You can be playing all sorts of
Little League,
anything you want. And one of the things they probably wanted to see was a Reds win, maybe a Jay Bruce home run, and a Aroldis Chapman dialing it up to 100 miles an hour,
which he was throwing on Saturday night. He came on in the 9th inning to pick up that save. He did allow a hit. He did walk about it. Struck out 2. But he picked up save number 14 in that game and was 98 plus triple digits 2 or 3 times, and 95 out of the gate to begin the night.
Well, he's had about an inning and a half of warming up down there in the bullpen. He ought to be loose.
Well, that game on Saturday was the only time he has pitched a game in a week. So there should be more than enough fuel in the tank. Chapman has only thrown so far this year a total of 25 innings. The Reds have played 518 innings, and he has pitched in 25 of them.
Well, you can see what would spark the debate as to where do you want him, as a closer or as a starter.
3-1.
And that's really as simple as you can put it. How many innings do you want your best arm to pitch?
Well, the Reds flirted with that idea for a 2nd consecutive year. And of course, what is so interesting is, as you get in then to the whole debate once you've made the decision that he's going to be the closer, is how frequently do you want to use Chapman in that role? You want to use him for more than 1 inning save, which the Reds just forbid to do. And Dusty Baker has already said, I'm not going to go there. Swinging a foul ball out of play. It's 3 balls and 2 strikes. And, you know, if you do that, you run the risk of going through those stretches where you need the guy, you know, 4 out of 5, 7 out of 9. They haven't had that kind of stretch this year. They're not using him 3 days in a row. The one game against Chicago last Sunday, they did not use him, and Andrusa gave up the home run. Their strike 3 called at 97. But then, Chris, you get into the whole thing about if you don't have that kind of a stretch, you can go a week or 7 or 8 days and never use him.
Now that's about an unhittable pitch right there.
Dusty Baker got very upset yesterday. I mean, you could see it in his face. You could hear it in his voice when a very, very young newspaper writer, as he faces Gonzalez for ball 1, asked him, did you consider bringing in Chapman in the 8th inning to face a left-handed batting Garrett Jones, with 2 outs and 1 on and a 2-run lead in the 8th. 1-0 the count to Gonzalez. There's a fastball at 98 in there, a strike. Two and 1 to Carlos Gonzalez, who has 2 hits, half of Colorado's hit total in the game. Arroyo, 8 innings, 4 hits, no runs, did not walk a batter all night, struck out 3, threw 86 pitches, 65 of them for strikes. Gonzalez comes up empty. I tell you what, Gonzalez not given an inch as a left-handed batter. There's no bailing out going on here.
Not even choking up.
100 miles per hour.
I'm not sure that there's that much difference between 98 and 100. But when you hit that triple digits, man, oh man, those kids around here, they love it. Last 6 games for Aroldis Chapman, not including tonight. 6 innings, no runs, only a couple of walks, 13 strikeouts. And going for save number 7.
And Tulowitzki, the batter. Reds have already thrown 8 shutouts this season. Including just over the weekend on Friday and Saturday nights. By the way, the shutouts, 3rd most behind the Pirates and the Cardinals, who are tied for the top spot. And by the way, if the Reds complete the shutout here, they would be tied with the Pirates and the Cardinals for the most shutouts in the big leagues, 9 of them. 3-1 to Tulowitzki. And there's a walk. So now Kadire, 0 for 2 in his career against Chapman. Kadire 1 of 3, singled his last time up. And there is strike 1. Taking second base, Gonzalez. And he went around. 0-2.
That's how Hannigan hurt himself earlier in the year, trying to flag down one of those 100-mile-an-hour fastballs up and away.
Came back with a slider at 86. Kadire able to get a bat on it and foul it away. Chapman a strike away and out away from completing a 4-hit shutout, following up the 8 sensational innings from Arroyo. Two. Struck him out, and that's the old ball game. A 100-mile-per-hour fastball. Chapman fans aside in the 9th inning, also walks about it. Arroyo and Chapman combine on a 4-hit shutout. The Reds tied for the league lead, 9 of those this year.
Well, a big crowd down at the ballpark on an absolutely beautiful night for baseball. They expected a Reds win. Bronson Arroyo did not disappoint. His record goes to 5-1 here at this ballpark. 6-5 overall for Bronson Arroyo. Chapman picks up a save. And talk about two different pitchers who dominated tonight, each with a completely different styles, all riding on the home run and the bat of Jay Bruce. A nice team victory tonight for Dusty Baker's crew.
Indeed, after the tough one yesterday in Pittsburgh, to bounce back, get that kind of effort from Arroyo. 3-0 Reds win.